Hello all and welcome to my YouTube channel. We are learning a AutoGen series and this is the third video in this particular series. So if you haven't watched the previous two videos, please go ahead and watch those videos. Link is there in the description. So in the last session, we have understood the importance of terminating the agent chat in multi-agent framework. And we have studied the different ways of terminating the chat in AutoGen. So we started with using initiate chat parameter option where we have controlled the termination with max turn parameter. Then at agent level configuration, we have studied max consecutive auto reply and is termination flag. So we have understood these methods. In this particular video, let's get started with allowing human feedback in agents. Now, why human feedback is needed whenever there is a conversation going between the two agents? As we know that the agents are LLM powered. For example, if you are using a large language model like GPT-4, then they are great at performing the automatic task. But still, in some of the cases, the manual intervention is required. And what are those cases like? Let's say sometimes the agent conversations or the conversation going between the two agents may misunderstand the goal. Then in those cases, we need a human feedback in the loop. Also, sometimes we need help in deciding between the options. For example, if the two agents are talking to each other, then sometimes agent may throw two different options and we need to select one option out of that. And in those cases, a human input is required to select the best options. For example, let's understand this with help of simple example. So for example, let's say you have two agents. Let's say you have user proxy and another one is, let's say, your SQL agent. And these two agents are responsible to query the data from your database. And let's say you have used RAG operation where you have feed your custom data and this is your product information data, for example. Now in this case, let's say user is asking the question, get me the product information for Joe. Then in this case, your user proxy agent will request SQL agent to extract the information for Joe. But let's say this agent finds that there are two persons or two customers with the same name in this particular database. And in those cases, the SQL agent will return an option. Whether you want the information for, let's say, Joe with name, let's say, Ben, or Joe with, let's say, name Root. These are the two customers that are available. So in this case, a manual intervention is required so that user should go ahead and confirm whether the user want the information for Ben or Root. So in this case, let's say user is selecting Joe Root, and in that case, the SQL agent will extract the information for Joe Root, product information for Joe Root. So in those cases, the manual intervention or human feedback is required. Also, sometimes the conversation between two agents reach at an uncertain or sensitive point, and in those cases, we need to interrupt the agents and we need to provide a human feedback in order to guide the agents to move into the correct directions. Now, let's understand how exactly the agent in the loop works. So for example, let's say you have a conversable agent and we have seen this particular class of conversable agent. And if you remember in the last video, we have passed this human in the loop option as never. So let me quickly show you that. So if you see, this is the parameter that we have given in the last video where we have passed at agent level, we have passed human input mode never. So let's understand, and it's part of conversable agent. So you can see conversable agent. Now, let's see how exactly it works. So whenever user passes any message, so this particular message first goes into this particular conversable agent. Conversable agent identifies whether there is a need of human in the loop or not. Let's say in the first go, there is no need of human in the loop. So human in the loop will be skipped. And this particular information will be passed further so that agent can generate a reply. So automatic reply will be generated. In our case, code execution, that is, let's say SQL query execution. So the query will be executed and the query will give the auto reply. So it will be auto reply given by the agent. Let's say in further conversation loop, now the human in the loop decides that, okay, we need a human interruption in between. So in that case, what will happen? A human response will be provided. Human reply will be provided. Let's say in our case, let's say I want the information for Joe Root. So that human reply will be provided. And then again, it will be fed back to the conversable agent and conversable agent will extract the information and give the auto reply. Now, there are some cases where we need to terminate. And there is one method that we are going to see where we are requesting human to provide input whether we need to terminate or not. In those cases, this human can return terminate message. And that's how the agent conversation terminates. So this is the basic workflow, how exactly the human in the loop system works. Now let's understand what are the different parameters that are available for us to pass into the human in the loop. Okay, before that, it's important to understand one thing. As a couple of things that we have seen for terminating the chat, there are automatic ways also we have seen where we are terminating the chat, but we need to understand that human in the loop design in AutoGen is always prioritized above the automatic reply. So whenever you are passing automatic reply along with the human in the loop, then human in the loop will always take priority on the automatic reply. So let's say in our last session we have seen that how we are passing the max consecutive auto reply. So in that cases, your human input mode will take priority on max automatic consecutive reply, and we are going to see that with the help of a simple example. Now let's understand what are the different options that are available. So the first option that is available is for the human input mode. And for this particular parameter, first option is never, that we have already seen in the last session. So in case of never, the agents will never request for human input and they will take the decisions automatically by understanding the conversation that is going on. The second one is the terminate. Now in terminate, there is an option. So it's basically a default option. If you are not passing any termination attribute, then this particular method will take control, and it's a default method. So what exactly it does is, whenever there is a termination word or a end conversation related message is available in the agent conversation, then it passes that particular conversation to the human, and it requests human to whether accept that interruption or not. And that is this particular mode. And this mode is basically, again, whenever the agent conversation goes into the wrong direction and sometimes agents are confused, then agent sometimes returns terminate, or sometimes agents may generate the half-baked response and say terminate. So in that case, that response goes to the human, and then human study the response, understand that particular response, and based on that, user may give its input. So that's the this default method, terminate. Then third method that we have is always. There is this third method, always. In always, it always asks for the human input. Whenever there is conversation going on between the agents, it always asks for human to provide its input. And that's how the conversation goes. And there are several use cases where we will use always as well. And we are going to see this in the practical session. Now, as we discussed earlier, it's very important to make sure that human in the loop always takes priority. So in our case, if let's say the max consecutive auto reply is also set and human in the loop is also set, so what will happen is, whenever human input mode is called, the max consecutive auto reply options will be resetted, and then again the conversation continues. So I know it might be confusing at this point, but once we see the practical implementation, this point will be very clear for you. Let's jump into the practical implementation, and where we will build a agentic framework, and we will play with the human input mode. So the example that we are going to see in the practical implementation is simple example where we will build agents to play a game where for agent 1 we will ask to pick any number between 1 to 100, and for agent B we will ask that just guess the number, and if the number is correct, then we will interrupt the agent chat. If the number is not correct, then we will set certain rules so that agent 2 can reach to that particular number, and that's what we will see. Okay, so this is the code that we have written in the last session. So what we can do is, as you know that we need to call the LLM config every time. So what we can do is, we can keep this LLM config into the utility file. So let me select this particular code. So we are copying this particular code, and let's create a new file to store this particular, and we can call it as llmconfig.py, and in this particular file we can paste this, and we don't need to import that. All the configurations are here, and these configurations I have set into the environment file. So if you haven't seen this particular configuration, go ahead and watch the first video of this particular series, where I have mentioned in detail how we can create the Azure OpenAI service and what are the details that we need to grab from there, so that we can use the LLM model that we have deployed on the Azure OpenAI service. If you really want to try it out with your OpenAI subscription, then this is the LLM config that you need to use. You just need to pass the model and the API key, your Open API key. Now, I have already set these details into the environment file. Let's create a new file in order to test the human in the loop. So we can give name as human in the loop.py. And let's copy the code that we have written last time. Last time, if you remember, we have written these two agents, Maddie and Joe. So we can copy that. This LLM config now we can remove from here. Okay, now let's import the LLM config. So from LLM config, we need to import LLM config. So, okay, LLM config is imported. Now what we can do is, instead of this Maddie, we will be writing two different agents. So let me copy that agent and I'll explain. Okay, so this is the agent that we are writing, agent with number. We will be writing two agents. So first agent is agent with number. This is the name that we have given, and as I mentioned, we are calling the conversable agent class. And let's understand how exactly the prompt we have given. So you are playing a game of guess my number, and you have the number 75 in your mind, and I will try to guess it. So this agent with number will keep one number in mind, and the second agent, which is the guesser agent, will guess the number, and if the number is correct, then they will terminate the chat. So several rules that we have defined is, if my guess is higher, much higher than your number, say too high. If the guess is much lower, then say too low. If the guess is slightly higher, let's say within the range of 5, then we say high and low, so that the agents will be able to understand whether the guess is correct or whether you are going into the right directions or not. And if guess is correct, say correct. Then we have passed LLM configuration, and what we are checking is termination flag is given, because we want to understand when to terminate, and for that, if 75 in the message, then we are terminating. And human input mode we have given as never. Now, as the human input mode is given as never, that's why the termination will happen once the 75 is observed into the game or observed into the message. Let's build the second agent as well, the guesser agent. Okay, you can see agent with guess number, the name we have given, and again the system message. I have a number in my mind and you will try to guess that particular number. And again, these rules, we need to say whether it is much lower, slightly lower, or much higher, slightly higher. And accordingly, we'll keep adjusting the guess based on the feedback until we get the right number. And again, here the configuration we are passing, and human input mode we have set as never. Let's understand how exactly the conversation will work without passing any human input mode, and we will understand that, and then we will try all the three human input modes. Now let's start the agentic conversation. So first we'll call agent with number, and we'll ask agent with number to initiate the chat. And in the initiate chat, what we will pass is again the same thing, like the agent guess number, and then we'll pass message. This is the message. I have a number between 1 and 100. Guess it. Simple message. Okay, let's go ahead and activate the environment first. So let me select again the command prompt. Okay, I have activated the environment, and let's run the file, python human in the loop.py, and let's see how exactly the conversation happens between the two agents. Okay, now you can see the agent conversation has started. The first number, I have a number between 1 and 100. This agent with number is requesting guesser to guess the number. Now what guesser is saying that, okay, 50, is it a 50 number? Then agent is saying no, too low, you are too far from the number. And then agent is guessing second number as 75, and it is terminating the conversation. It's because we have given 75, so let's change the number. Instead of 75, we can say that Let's say the number as 58. And let's understand now. I'm running the file again. Okay, now you can see the conversation has started and it has given the number, the agent with number is requesting guesser to guess the number between 1 to 100. Guesser has given the number as 50. Then it is saying no, it is low. Then it is generating number as 65. Then it is saying too high, meaning that it needs to go down. Then it is saying is it 60? Then it is still saying high. Then is it 57? It is saying low. And then it is saying is it 58? Yes, it is 58. So the termination run, it has terminated because termination message condition on agent with number met. Because in agent with number we have passed the termination as is termination. You can see is termination. Now the 58 is available in the response. That's where it has terminated. Now what we can do is we will continue with the same file, but let me write the main function so that we can call this particular. We'll be able to test multiple things in the same file. So let's write a main function equals to and then here we can call this particular agent chat. Now let's make some changes. Let me add some proper comments. Termination using is termination flag. So this code is for termination using is termination flag. So we have covered the first method, human input mode sets to never, and that's where the other automatic termination has taken the priority, that is the is termination flag or is termination message. Now let's understand the second mode where we can pass it as always. Now for passing that, what we can do is we can create a new agent. Let me define that agent. So we are creating a human proxy agent, and LLM configurations, we are not passing any LLM configuration because we don't want any LLM application to use that. Instead, we will give the responses from our side as a human, and then human input mode is always, meaning once the first conversation happened, for second one it will come back to the human. And for initiating the chat, let me comment this out now. So let's test this particular result. Where human proxy dot initiate chat, we are passing agent with number. So agent with number will generate a number, and then human proxy where we will pass our manual input. So let's run this particular file. Okay, now you can see that the human proxy agent has started the conversation. First, human proxy to agent with number, it is saying 10. Based on this particular conversation, it is saying 10. So 10 is the first number that it has generated. Agent with number return it as too low. Now let's reply as a human proxy agent. Now as we have said that the human input mode is always, so it will always ask for the input. So first input it has covered, but now it is asking. So let me cover the number as, let me enter it as 75. Let's say what exactly it says. It says too high. Too high meaning let me go to the 59 and let's say what exactly it says. It is still saying high. So let me say 54 low. So it's between 54 and 56. Sorry, 54 and 59. So let me try 58. And you can see once I tried the 58, it has terminated the run because the agent with number has met the condition of termination, because we have used the similar agent with number and termination method as is termination message. So this was the second method that we have seen. So let me add the comment here. So always is done. Let's try the third method, terminate method. So let's study this. Let's understand this. For this now, let me go ahead and copy this particular agent once again, because we are going to pass the termination. So this particular agent, I am going to rename it agent number with term in order to terminate it, and same name I'll give. And only one change that we need to do here is the human input mode, we will change it to terminate. This is the third method that we are understanding now. So the mode is set to terminate. Let's add max consecutive reply as well. So after LLM configuration, we are adding max consecutive auto reply. Now here we will study how exactly the human input mode takes control over the automatic reply. That's what we will see now. Let me go ahead and add the result. Let me comment this out. And we are seeing the third method. So in the third method, what we have is, I have a number between 1 and 100, guess it. So instead of agent guess number, what we need to pass is this particular agent with term. Instead of agent with number, we are passing agent with number term. And for the agent with number guess, we are setting this particular human input mode as never, because only agent with number agent will have the feasibility to terminate the chat. So let's go ahead and run the file again. Okay, you can see now the conversation has started. It has requested to generate a guess a number between 1 to 100. It has guessed 50. Then it went into the auto reply option. And then it is saying, no, the number is low. Then second number, it has guessed 60. And now it is requesting for human input. Now, the guesser agent has already guessed the number as 60. Now we need to say that it is high. So let's add that. Let's see what it gives. It is saying 55. It went into the automatic reply. Now it is saying low and it has generated 57. Now we need to say still low. Let's see what it gives. 58. You can see it has generated the response as 58. Now it came to the human. Now as a human, we need to validate whether the number is correct or not. Yes, it is correct. So what we will say that correct. Yeah, you can see great. Do you want to play it again? Sure. Think of a new number and all those details, and again it has started the conversation. Okay, now we can enter exit to terminate the chat. So this is how the three modes that we have seen. First one is never, where the agent never asks for human input and they take the decisions automatically or based on the termination methods that we have set. The second method we have seen is always, where it always requests for human to provide the input, where we have passed the numbers and that's how it has guessed. And the third method is terminate, where it is a default method where it is passing the conversation to the human for termination if required, or if it is not sure, if it thinks that the conversation is now ending, then it is passing it, or it is not able to detect the answer, then it is passing it to the human so that human input mode can be passed. And whenever we are terminating or exiting, then it is exiting the conversation. So that's how in the agentic framework, multi-agent framework, human input is required or it is necessary in order to control the chat flow. I hope this was helpful for you and it was a good learning for you. So this particular code I will upload to the GitHub and the link will be available in the description. So please go ahead and try it out. Try the different modes from your side. Try with different examples. Play with examples and it will be very clear for you. So I hope you really like this particular video. Go ahead and like the video, subscribe to my channel and share it with your friends. Thank you all and see you soon in the next video. Thank you so much.